September 11th through 18th.
So put that on your long-term plan, September 11th through the 18th. The World Championship Gold Panning comes to Eldorado County. Eldorado County is the birthplace that brought California into statehood. On the South Fork of the American River, James Marshall, obviously, we all know the California history, where it changed Sutter's Fort, changed trade, commerce, and it just changed the entire course of the United States of America. With Manifest Destiny heading across the United States, it ended in the state of California. And gold was the catalyst. Gold was the catalyst for a lot of battles that actually occurred here in California for the bullion. And we've had a lot of cases in Eldorado County, and we've had a deputy sheriff that was killed in Eldorado County. So gold was something that people fought for and worked extremely hard for. I live on a ranch out in the Somerset area, and I see a gold miner from the Consumies. I see the lower Consumies on the North Fork. I see gold miners from the Grizzly area. I see gold miners down on Sand Ridge. I see lots of my friends in this room, and some of you have been friends of mine for going on 30, 40 years. The reality is that for the last 40 or 50 years, we've had the environmental community know what they're doing while we are all working hard. As we're busting our rear ends, making a living for our families, these folks out of academia have been able to put a whole bunch of colloquial language that makes no sense into the vocabulary of government. We've also had a shift in population, starting sometime in the 1960s and 1970s, where the masses of the state of California truly went from rural California to suburban and urban California, and we are desperately outnumbered at the state legislature with the governor and 2/3 majority. It was a dismal time for me after the election, and I was in the doldrums for about 2 or 3 weeks, and I realized that doesn't do us any good. I had a pep talk from a few of you folks that have worked really hard, and some of you have generational experience with mining like my family. And I got to tell you, when I think about the future and our children growing up in this environment, that we can't give up. And one of the organizations that inspired me incredibly was Rick Eddy, Steve Tyler, the folks that are in the folks that are in the rivers that said, we've got to do something. You guys weren't organized before because you were doing what you love and you wanted to be left alone. You wanted to be in the rivers, to have your fun, to recreate and have a little gold. You want to be left alone to provide for those that want the gold and jewelry and bullion and whatever they want the gold for. You want to be left alone to create aggregate. You want to be left alone to make byproducts. You're not. The state of California has headed in the wrong direction at 90 miles an hour, and it's getting worse. The stuff that's coming out of Sacramento now is getting worse. So I was elected in 1992. I've been involved with the timber wars, been involved with the mining wars, went to the Clinton summit. I was up to South Lake Tahoe when Clinton and Al Gore flew in with a Huey. That I bet that Huey polluted more of Lake Tahoe than any car did, that drives around Lake Tahoe. And it was just, I think, the movement that's going on in the federal government, the state government, has impacts on how we use our lands. I mean, just recently, the Board of Supervisors, what we're working on right now is the 42 road closure proposal. The Board of Supervisors, we actually have a decent relationship with the Amador Eldorado National Forest, and we've got 40 of those 42 roads initially that we're going to stay open. Unfortunately, there's been a ruling where they're dealing now with 18 roads, and we're going to work through that to try to keep each and every road open. If you don't keep the roads open, you can't get to your mining claims. You have to have special permission and a whole variety of things to meet criteria, and it's only you, the miner, that would be allowed to go to that claim if they don't change the state legislation. But I want to assure you, over the years, the Board of Supervisors in Eldorado County for miners have been very supportive. And I know that there's state policies that the counties have to implement that are really draconian and interpretive and drive miners nuts. Hopefully the Board of Supervisors across the state of California will make better interpretations of state law so that we can deliver a better product for the mining community. And I hope that I get a chance to do that at the Board of Supervisors. But in 2009, I started my third term. I left the Board of Supervisors for 8 years. And one of the first things I did was to pass a resolution. Let me read this. Whereas gold was first discovered in 1848 on the banks of the South Fork of the American River, Valley of Coloma, and this county took its name in 1850 from a legendary utopian endowed with vast quantities of gold. Whereas the state of California operates Marshall's Gold Discovery Park in Coloma to preserve the memory of those daring and courageous pioneers of early efforts laid the cornerstone upon which this county rests. Whereas ancient geological forces supplied this county with a rare abundance of the noble metal, and our gold-bearing streams continue to yield rewards of commercial and recreational value. Whereas modern mining practice and exemplified by suction dredging in our gold-bearing streams is compatible with traditional resource use, and it is our desire to foster commercial and recreational gold mining opportunities while providing for the protection and enhancement of other important resources. Whereas the California Department of Fish and Game, and by the way they changed their name, and I wonder why they went from Fish and Game to Fish and Wildlife. Isn't there an attitude issue in there somewhere? Whereas the California Department of Fish and Game final environmental impact report on suction dredging mining dated 1994 based on several peer-reviewed scientific studies in suction dredging mining states repeatedly that suction dredge gold mining has little, if any, negative effect on fisheries and aquatic habitat. I went and sat and spoke as a speaker asked by Senator Ted Gaines, and I sat at the committee, and a bunch of you folks were there at the state capitol. This is a subcommittee dealing with the suction dredging issue. And we lost that vote on a party line vote. And afterwards, I had a chance to talk to a state senator who, she was from the Bay Area. I don't want to mention names, I'm being filmed here, and hopefully we might be able to change your mind.
I can edit it out too.
But I pulled that state senator aside and I asked, why did you vote to take recreational and suction dredgers out of the river and make that decision that you said it was deleterious to fish? And she said, we've got to take those big barges out of the Sacramento River that's mucking up our rivers and destroying the environment in the San Francisco Bay Area. And I'm sitting there, just went through a hearing. Now, I'm telling you, this is pervasive at the state capitol. You know it. And as you lobby the state capitol, you're going to find out that there are $50 million issues and there are multi-billion-dollar issues. And the economy of suction dredging in the state of California is a $50 million industry. Yeah. So they pay attention when they have to, and when they don't, they sit there and then they're told what to do by the environmental groups. So when I asked her point blank, my image of suction dredging is Joe down there on Sandridge Road in the river having fun after working 40, 60 hours a week at his primary job, and the secondary job is to get a little gold out of the river. No polluting, fish that actually eat the nutrients as it comes off the tailings of the suction dredge, and it's a good thing. It captures 98% of the mercury, and there's no evidence of the mercury volatilizing and getting into the lakes. We all know that. And guess what? Fish and Game came up with mitigation measures to put everybody back in the river. So what does the state of California do? They put it in their state budget that it's not enough money collected to cover the cost of the issuance of permits. So what happens there? They take you out of the river because of the California budget that has nothing to do with the studies of fish and game. Now that stinks. And the Californians don't know, and we don't have enough money, and we don't have enough media to get this message to suburban and urban California. They don't know. They don't know that their friends that are going to the mountains to recreate were pulled out of the river by a vote of their legislature because we don't have the money to get to those constituents and tell what they're doing. Anyway, the Board of Supervisors passed this resolution to support the efforts of the suction dredging community. Just last week, we wrote a letter to David Young, and the letter goes like this. On October 6, 2009, the Board of Supervisors for the County of Eldorado adopted Resolution 22309, expressing our opposition to the State of California prohibition of suction dredge mining. Recognizing that this issue must ultimately be decided in the court, we wish to provide you with information about the impact to the County of Eldorado as a result of lost economic opportunity. Now, we only have two main river systems, significant river systems in Eldorado County. 3 forks of the Consumes and 2 forks of the American River. And approximately 3-4 million acre-feet flow through those systems and provide phenomenal amounts of water for the system of the state of California. Let's talk about just this county and its impacts. A small remnants of the county's rich mining past, approximately 40 dredgers in Eldorado County. 40 dredgers tucked in these mountain ranges. You can't even see them. You'd have a hard time finding them. What impact are they having in our system? By the way, the South Fork of the American River is dammed. The South Fork of the American River is dammed. Below it and above it, and the flows are controlled. The flows are controlled where there's fluctuations of 15 feet sometimes, depending on how the river lays. And in that fluctuation, amphibious animals or creatures cannot survive in a river that fluctuates. So how in the world could the hypocrites take their suction dredgers that haven't proven to be deleterious to fish out of the river when the hydrological influxes of flows and decreases of flows are detrimental to the amphibious creatures of the South Fork of the American River? When I approached Steve Evans, I'm getting fired up now. When I approached Steve Evans, the founder, getting his start in 1972 in the South Fork of the American River, about why are you going after these fine folks that are getting garbage out of the river and getting mercury out of the river, Steve Evans, why are you not addressing the hydrological flows? Now, by the way, I'm in favor of the hydrological flows. I'm in favor of harnessing our water for generation of power. I'm not in favor of hypocritical activity. When Steve Evans says that this activity is bad, but the hydrological flows that are really difficult for the amphibians, nothing's said. Not a word is said. But we pro-business people allow the flows because we want to get along with the river folks. We want to get along with everybody, and it was only until they took you out of the river until you guys formed. Enough of me getting upset. A small remnants of the county's rich mining past, approximately 40 dredges regularly operated in Eldorado County in the 6-month mining season from May to October prior to the ban. Operators of suction dredging range from weekend hobbyists producing 4 or 5 ounces of gold in a season to those who derive 100% of their income from mining producing 40 to 50 ounces or more per season. Some miners have reported seasons resulting in up to 100 ounces of gold. In consultation with experts from our mining community with over 100 years of combined experience, we conservatively estimated the value of lost gold production in Eldorado County to be over $1.6 million annually. That's with 40 dredgers. The financial consequences of the suction dredge ban are not isolated to the mining community. Suction dredge miners typically employ 2 to 3 partners and spend a considerable sum in goods and services within the community. Businesses that provide fuel, food, hardware, maintenance, and even office and financial services benefit from the practice of mining. Conservatively assuming a 5-day mining work week during the dredging season combined with a minimum of $100 per day of expenses results in more than $500,000 annually reinvested in the county economy. The analysis does not include the sizable initial investment in the suction dredging equipment itself. Additionally, costs, I'll be done and I'll sit down and shut up.
No.
Additional costs to the community caused by the ban are incalculable. The largest mining supply store servicing Eldorado County was forced to close its doors shortly after the institution of the dredging ban, thus affecting many jobs. Mining equipment worth thousands of dollars lie dormant, unused, and rendered worthless while miners are unable to perform their jobs. In addition, many individuals in our community have invested in property adjoining rivers or streams and rely on mining for their livelihood with the expectation of dredge mining their land. Others have made the same investment hoping to supplement their income when they retire. The loss of business and property value as a result of the prohibition is immeasurable. Under the current ban, property owners who live adjacent to streams and have dredging equipment stored on their property, private property, are considered criminal due to the onerous stipulations of the dredge ban. To date, the 3-year-old dredge ban has directly cost the citizens of Eldorado County minimally $4.8 million in lost economic opportunity. Not only indirect losses in businesses, but property value. We trust that those working to resolve this complex issue will give priority considerations to the economic impact on California's community. Passed by a 5-0 vote of the Board of Supervisors. I'm not going to give up, you guys, even though it was dismal in that last election cycle. I hope none of you give up. And they've got us cornered, and we've got to be fighters. We've got to be that buck with sharp horns, and we've got to fight back. All right? And we've got to stay in the trenches, and we've got to get bigger. So thank you guys very much, and Rick, and those of you in Eldorado County and that helped put this organization on. Thank you very much. Thank you.